Did you just start working out but haven't been seeing any progress despite spending countless hours in the Iron Temple? Well, if that's the case, then this video is for you. As someone who's been lifting for almost a decade, I've seen waves of people come in and out of the Iron Temple, aka the gym. And the reason that most people end up quitting is because they don't see the initial results, or some like to call them newbie gains. Plain and simple, making gains is addictive, and that's what you need to get hooked on the gym. If I didn't make newbie gains when I first started lifting 9 years ago, there's no way I would be sitting here today as someone who still goes consistently 3 to 5 times per week. Which means I'm gonna cover 5 mistakes that beginners make which prevents them from making gains. Mistake number 1 is bad form. A lot of people go into the gym not using the proper technique, and what this results in is something called ego lifting. This is basically lifting too much weight and swinging your body. So a perfect example of this is trying to do a bicep curl, but then you start swinging your entire body and then it becomes a back movement. The reason that ego lifting is bad is because not only is it dangerous, but you also aren't really stimulating the muscle properly. In order to build muscle, you need to implement what's called progressive overload. Put plain and simply, this is just lifting more than last time. You can do this by lifting the same amount of weight and increasing reps, or increasing weight and decreasing reps. There's many ways to slice and dice it to implement progressive overload. However, by ego lifting and not using proper form, you're introducing some random variables such as how much momentum you use, how much energy you had that day, etc., that really detract from the progressive overload. If you currently don't have good form, I would recommend looking up solid form on YouTube. And another good tip is record yourself performing the exercise and watch that video and compare it to good form. Or if you have any friends that are, gym rats, then just have them take a look at that video. The thing you'll realize is people in the gym are usually super friendly and are willing to help. You just gotta ask. Mistake number 2 is not tracking your workouts. This is actually another really common mistake. You see people going to the gym and they'll say like,
oh, I just remember what I did last time.
They just kind of play it by feel. But the thing is, this makes it actually really hard to implement progressive overload, which is kind of related to the first point I was making. Since if you don't know how much you lifted the last workout, how do you expect to beat that? Humans are known to make errors when they try to do memory recall, or essentially when they're trying to remember something, it's pretty easy to slip up. So the best way to avoid doing this is just to track your workout. I recommend just using your notes app if you have an iPhone, or you can have an Excel spreadsheet, pretty much writing down how much weight you did, how many reps you did, and what was the RPE. RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion, and pretty much what it is it's basically how many reps you have left in the tank. 10 RPE is absolute failure, 9 RPE is 1 rep left in the tank, 8 RPE is 2 reps left in the tank, etc., etc. By tracking your weight by reps and RPE, you'll have a lot of data to use to make sure that each time you go in the gym, you're leveling up. Mistake number 3 is not eating enough. So especially when you're starting out, you typically want to hit a bulk. Unless you're already really overweight, then you might just want to hit a cut. But for most people, especially skinnier guys, you want to be hitting a bulk, which means that you're eating in a caloric surplus. What exactly is a caloric surplus? It's basically your calories in is greater than your calories out. So in order to do that, you need to eat. A common mistake hard gainers make is they'll eat a lot for one meal, but then their total daily caloric input is actually not that high, and they're not gaining weight. And the reason that bulking is important is because being in a caloric surplus is the most anabolic state you can put your body in, which means that it's easier to build muscle. Your muscles need to repair itself after your workouts, and having more calories to do so just streamlines the process. Mistake number 4 is lack of consistency. So this is really common amongst people who are new, since they'll have spurts of motivation, go to the gym maybe 4 times in 1 week, but then only 1 time the next week, maybe skip a week, rinse and repeat that process with random spurts of motivation. You wanna make sure you're hitting the gym at least 2 to 3 times per week. Typically, if you have a weekly workout split, such as push-pull legs upper, or push-pull legs full body, or push-pull legs lower, it's really easy to just stick to something on a weekly basis. This ensures that you're being consistent over time, since to build muscle, you basically just need to be in a caloric surplus, implement progressive overload, and be consistent. If you have those 3 variables ticked off, then you're gonna make gains. I have a lot of free resources on this channel, so make sure to subscribe, hit the bell button for notifications whenever I upload. But I try to make videos basically giving tips to people who are beginners so that you guys can make gains and then fall in love with the gym just like I did 9 years ago. All right, last but not least, mistake number 5 is unrealistic expectations. Oftentimes people will see these fitness models on Instagram and be like, oh, I want to look like this guy. Or they'll go into the gym expecting to look like David Lade 3 months in. And that's just not realistic because first off, a lot of these fitness models are masters of filters. They'll use filters, they'll use angles, they'll use specific lighting to make themselves look more jacked than they actually look in real life. And it's not a fair comparison if you're comparing how you look in the mirror versus someone on Instagram, because not only can they manipulate the photo, but they can take as many photos as they want and just post the best one. That's the name of the game when it comes to being a fitness influencer, since no one wants to see realistic progress. That means that you gotta really just not pay attention to Instagram and compare yourself to yourself. You're your own competition, and a great way to keep track of progress is to take progress pictures every other week. The easiest way to do that is just to record yourself hitting some poses, front, back, side, and then just take screenshots of those videos. And you can pretty much just build up an archive of past photos, and then as you continue riding the gains train over time, you can look back at the previous pit stops, and it really feels good seeing that you made visual progress. That's one thing I have all my clients do. I'm an online fitness coach, and I make sure that they all take consistent progress pictures, because sometimes you can be recomping, which is building muscle and losing fat at the same time. So on paper with scale weight, you'll be the same weight, but then if you look at your pictures, your body composition is actually a lot better, which indicates that you're making gains. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up all 5 mistakes I see beginners make, which prevents them from making gains. Just to recap, mistake number 1 is bad form. Mistake number 2 is not tracking your workouts. Mistake number 3 is not eating enough. Mistake number 4 is lack of consistency. And mistake number 5 is unrealistic expectations.